Welcome, dear listeners, to another peaceful journey through history. Tonight, we'll drift slowly through the sandy paths of ancient Egypt, following the quiet footsteps of the ordinary people who built one of the world's greatest wonders. Close your eyes and let your breathing slow as we explore the gentle rhythms of daily life for the workers who constructed the Great Pyramid of Giza over 4,500 years ago. Let the soft desert wind carry you back in time, where the Nile flows peacefully beside vast construction sites, and where thousands of workers lived, worked, and dreamed under the endless Egyptian sky. There's no rush here, no urgency, just the slow, steady passage of days in ancient times. The first pale light of dawn creeps slowly across the eastern horizon, painting the limestone blocks a gentle golden hue. In the workers' village, nestled safely away from the main construction site, the day begins with the same quiet rhythm it has followed for decades. The village houses are simple, built from mud brick and stone, with flat roofs that collect the cool desert air through the long nights. Inside these modest dwellings, families of workers slowly stir from their sleep on woven reed mats, their movements unhurried and peaceful. Listen closely, and you might hear the soft sound of grinding grain as the women of the village begin preparing the morning meal. The steady rhythm of stone against stone, grinding wheat and barley into flour, creates a gentle, repetitive sound that has marked the beginning of countless mornings. This sound drifts through the narrow streets, mixing with the distant lowing of cattle and the soft murmur of early conversations. The workers themselves move slowly in these early hours. There's no alarm clock, no sudden jarring awakening. Instead, they rise naturally with the sun, their bodies accustomed to this ancient rhythm. They stretch their aching muscles, joints stiff from yesterday's labor, and prepare for another day of building something that will outlast them by thousands of years. The foremen, slightly better dressed than the common workers, make their way through the village streets. Their sandals make soft scraping sounds against the packed earth as they check on their teams, ensuring everyone is accounted for. These men carry the weight of responsibility, but even they move with the unhurried pace of people who understand that great works are built slowly, stone by stone, day by day. Before the sun climbs too high in the sky, the workers gather for their morning meal. This is not a rushed affair, but a time of gentle community where neighbors share food and quiet conversation before the day's work begins. The bread is dark and dense, made from emmer wheat that has been carefully ground and mixed with water from the sacred Nile. The bakers, skilled artisans in their own right, have been working since before dawn, their ovens glowing softly in the pre-dawn darkness. The smell of baking bread drifts through the village, a comforting aroma that speaks of home and sustenance. Alongside the bread, there are onions, sharp and pungent, that help prevent the diseases that can strike down workers in such close quarters. Garlic, too, is distributed regularly, its strong flavor masking the sometimes monotonous taste of the daily rations. These simple foods form the foundation of the worker's diet, supplemented occasionally with fish from the Nile, dried in the desert sun until it becomes a leathery, preserved protein. The workers eat slowly, savoring each bite. Food is precious here, not to be wasted or consumed hastily. Children run between the adults, their laughter adding a gentle brightness to the morning air. The elderly workers, their bodies worn from years of labor, sit in whatever shade they can find, sharing stories and wisdom with the younger men who will carry on their work. Water is distributed carefully from large pottery jars, each drop precious in this desert land. The workers drink slowly, knowing they must conserve their strength for the long day ahead. The water is cool and clean, drawn from wells that tap into the life-giving Nile, and it tastes of earth and sky and ancient rivers. Beer, weak and nourishing, is also shared among the workers. This is not the beer of celebration, but a daily necessity, providing calories and nutrients while being safer to drink than water that might have sat too long in the sun. The brewing is done by specialists in the village, women who have learned the ancient art from their mothers and grandmothers, measuring grain and water with practiced hands. As the sun rises higher, casting longer shadows across the plateau, the workers begin their daily journey to the construction site. This is not a hurried march, but a slow, steady procession of hundreds of men, their tools carried over their shoulders, their conversations quiet and companionable. The path from the village to the pyramid is worn smooth by the passage of countless feet over countless days. Dust rises gently from the packed earth, creating small clouds that drift lazily in the morning air. The workers walk in loose groups, organized by specialty and friendship, their footsteps creating a soft, rhythmic sound that echoes across the desert. Some carry the tools of their trade: copper chisels, worn smooth by use, wooden sledges for moving blocks, thick ropes woven from papyrus and palm fiber. Others carry baskets for removing rubble, or water jars to sustain their teams through the long day. Each tool represents years of skilled craftsmanship, passed down through generations of workers who have shaped stone and moved mountains. The ramp system, an engineering marvel in itself, spreads before them like a gentle slope leading toward the sky. These ramps, built from mud, brick, and stone, curve around the growing pyramid in a careful spiral, allowing the massive limestone blocks to be dragged slowly upward. The ramps are wide enough for teams of men to work side by side, their surfaces kept smooth and well maintained by dedicated crews. As they walk, the workers can see the pyramid rising before them, its shape becoming more defined each day. The morning sun catches the polished limestone, creating patterns of light and shadow that shift and change with the hours. It's a sight that never loses its wonder, even for men who see it every day of their working lives. The work itself follows ancient rhythms, patterns of movement and effort that have been refined over decades of pyramid building. This is not frantic labor, but careful, methodical work that requires strength, skill, and patience in equal measure. The stone cutters work in the quarries, their copper tools striking limestone in steady, measured blows. Each strike is deliberate, placed with the precision that comes from years of experience. The sound of metal on stone creates a gentle percussion that carries across the work site, 1,000 tiny bells marking the passage of time. The stone blocks, each weighing as much as several men, are shaped with infinite care. The workers understand that each block must fit perfectly with its neighbors, that the pyramid's strength depends on the precision of every cut. They work slowly, checking their measurements with wooden squares and plumb lines, ensuring that each surface is true and level. When a block is ready, teams of workers gather around it with thick ropes and wooden levers. The process of moving a stone block is like a careful dance, each man knowing his role, each movement coordinated with the others. They work in rhythm, their breathing synchronized, their efforts unified by years of practice. The sledges, made from sturdy wood and reinforced with metal, slide slowly across the prepared paths. Teams of 20 or 30 men pull together, their feet finding purchase on the packed earth, their muscles straining against the enormous weight. Behind them, other workers place wooden rollers, creating a smooth surface that reduces friction and makes the impossible possible. Water carriers move constantly through the work site, their precious cargo distributed to teams that pause briefly in their labor to drink and rest. The water is warm now, heated by the climbing sun, but it is life itself to the workers whose bodies pour sweat into the desert air. The methods used by these workers are the result of generations of accumulated knowledge, techniques passed down from father to son, from master to apprentice. Each skill has been refined through countless repetitions until the movements become as natural as breathing. The rope makers work in the shade of temporary shelters, their fingers flying as they twist papyrus fibers into strong, flexible lines. These ropes must be perfect, for they will bear the weight of massive stones, and the safety of the workers depends on their strength. The rope makers test each line carefully, checking for weak spots or imperfections that could lead to disaster. The wooden tools are crafted by skilled carpenters who understand the properties of different woods, choosing cedar for its strength, palm wood for its flexibility, and acacia for its resistance to wear. These craftsmen work with simple tools, copper saws, bronze adzes, and sharp knives, but their skill transforms raw wood into precision instruments. The quarry workers understand stone as intimately as a farmer understands soil. They can read the grain of the limestone, predicting where it will split cleanly and where it might crack unexpectedly. They know which stones will be perfect for the pyramid's core and which should be used for less critical purposes. The surveyors, perhaps the most skilled of all the workers, use ingenious instruments to ensure that the pyramid rises true and straight. Their plumb lines and measuring rods are works of art in themselves, calibrated with mathematical precision that seems almost magical to the common laborers. They move slowly across the construction site, checking angles and measurements with the patience of men who know that small errors can become catastrophic problems. As the sun reaches its zenith, the work gradually slows and then stops. The desert heat becomes overwhelming, and even the strongest workers must seek shade and rest. This is not seen as laziness, but as wisdom. The pyramid will not be built by men who collapse from exhaustion. The workers gather in whatever shade they can find, behind partially completed walls, under temporary shelters made from woven mats, or in the shadow of the pyramid itself. They sit quietly, their breathing slowly returning to normal, their bodies grateful for the respite. Water is distributed again, more carefully now, as the day's heat has made everyone thirsty. The workers drink slowly, savoring each drop, knowing that the afternoon's work still lies ahead. Some pour water over their heads, the precious liquid running down their sun-darkened bodies and disappearing into the thirsty sand. The midday meal is simple but nourishing. More bread, perhaps some dried fish, onions that have been pickled in the morning's preparation. The workers eat slowly, their conversation quiet and companionable. They speak of their families, their hopes for the future, the progress of the great work that consumes their days. Some workers use this time to tend to minor injuries, cuts from sharp stone, bruises from heavy blocks, the inevitable scrapes and scratches that come from working with massive stones. The site has skilled healers who understand the treatment of common injuries, men who learned their craft from the priests and physicians of the great temples. As the sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, the work gradually resumes. The afternoon shift moves at a different pace than the morning's labor, slower and more deliberate as the workers manage their energy for the long hours remaining. The pyramid continues to grow, layer by layer, stone by stone. Each block that is set in place brings the great work closer to completion, though that completion still lies years in the future. The workers understand that they are part of something larger than themselves, a project that will span generations and outlast empires. The afternoon light creates different shadows, changing the appearance of the work site as the sun moves across the sky. The workers have learned to read these shadows, using them to judge the time and to pace their efforts accordingly. There are no clocks here, no mechanical timekeepers, only the ancient rhythm of sun and shadow. The skilled masons work on the pyramid's outer casing, fitting blocks so precisely that not even a knife blade can slip between them. This work requires infinite patience and skill, each stone carefully shaped and positioned. The masons move slowly, checking and rechecking their work, knowing that any imperfection will be magnified by the pyramid's enormous scale. The hauling teams continue their steady work, moving blocks up the ramps in an endless procession. The ramps themselves require constant maintenance, their surfaces kept smooth and level by dedicated crews who understand that the entire project depends on their unglamorous but essential work. As the sun sinks lower in the western sky, painting the desert in shades of gold and amber, the day's work gradually comes to an end. The workers set down their tools with the quiet satisfaction of men who have done their duty, who have added their small part to something eternal. The walk back to the village is slower now, the workers tired, but not defeated. Their conversations are quieter, their steps more measured. The day's accomplishments are modest, but real. A few more stones set in place, a few more courses added to the pyramid's height. Another day's progress toward the great goal. The evening meal is the most social time of day, when the workers gather with their families and neighbors to share food and stories. The bread is still warm from the ovens, the beer still fresh from the brewing vats. Children gather around their fathers and grandfathers, listening to tales of the day's work and the progress of the Great Pyramid. The workers speak of their craft with quiet pride, sharing knowledge and techniques with younger men who will carry on their work. They discuss the qualities of different stones, the best methods for moving heavy blocks, the secrets of creating perfectly level surfaces. This knowledge is precious, more valuable than gold or silver. As night falls over the pyramid site, the workers settle into their beds with the deep satisfaction of honest labor. Their bodies are tired, their muscles ache, but their spirits are peaceful. They have spent another day building something that will outlast them by thousands of years. The sounds of the village gradually quiet as families settle down for the night. The soft murmur of conversation gives way to the gentle sounds of sleep. Quiet breathing, the rustle of linen sheets, the occasional cry of a child quickly soothed by a parent's voice. Outside, the desert wind whispers across the sand, carrying the scents of the Nile and the distant sea. The pyramid stands silent and incomplete, waiting for tomorrow's work, for the next day's progress toward its ultimate perfection. The workers sleep deeply, their dreams filled with visions of soaring stone and eternal monuments. They rest in the knowledge that they have played their part in creating something truly magnificent, something that will stand long after their names are forgotten, long after the desert wind has erased their footprints from the sand. And so we leave them, these ancient workers, sleeping peacefully in their simple beds, dreaming of pyramids and eternity. Their work continues even in sleep, their legacy growing stone by stone, dream by dream, into the magnificent monument that still stands today, a testament to the power of human cooperation and the quiet dignity of honest labor. Sleep well, dear listener, and dream of ancient Egypt, where ordinary people built extraordinary things, one careful stone at a time.